There were constant the evil swept in from the east. There were constant rumors and hints about what might be expected should the Soviet Union overrun Germany. Most Germans, however, remained hopeful. Such notions of Asiatic hordes, many felt, were merely the government's attempt to harden their will to resist. Thus it was that on the night of October 20th, 1944, as the village of Nemmersdorf and other communities nearest the front slept in imagined security, the unthinkable occurred. After punching a hole through the German line, the Red Army suddenly burst into the Reich and swarmed over the countryside. After several days of desperate fighting, the German Wehrmacht regrouped, launched a furious counterattack, and eventually drove the Red Army across the border. What German troops soon found was staggering. It was at Nemmersdorf where stunned soldiers first viewed hell on earth. Along the roads, fleeing refugees had been overtaken by the communists. The people were pulled from their carts, raped, then murdered on the spot.
In the farmyard further down the road stood a cart to which 4 naked women were nailed through their hands in a cruciform position. Beyond stood a barn, and to each of its 2 doors a naked woman was nailed through the hands in a crucified posture. In the dwellings we found a total of 72 women, including children, and 1 old man, 74, all dead. All murdered in a bestial manner, except only a few who had bullet holes in their necks. Some babies had their heads bashed in. In one room we found a woman, 84 years old, sitting on a sofa, half of whose head had been sheared off with an axe or a spade.
Old men who had tried to protect their wives, daughters, and granddaughters were themselves knocked down, then sawed in half. 50 French POWs and Polish workers who had instinctively stepped in to protect the people were castrated and killed. Staggered by the enormity of the crime, German authorities requested that neutral observers from Spain, Sweden, and Switzerland view the sickening carnage close up. However, when the visitors filed their reports and word finally reached the outside world, there was only silence. By the winter of 1944, the vicious propaganda war waged against Germany had been won. By that late stage of the conflict, the war of words had reached such evil extremes that few individuals beyond the Reich's borders were concerned about brained German babies or crucified German women. By the final months of the war, the enemy to be destroyed was not merely Adolf Hitler, the Nazi Party, or even the soldiers in the field. By the final months of the war, the aim of the approaching Allies was nothing less than the utter extinction of the German nation. Every man, every woman, every child. Fueling the flames of hate was the Jewish propagandist Ilya Ehrenberg. One of the most influential men in the Soviet Union, Ehrenberg made sure his message of evil reached every soldier in the Red Army by ordering that leaflets be dropped from airplanes onto the front lines.
Kill them all, men, old men, children, and women. After you have amused yourself with them, kill. Nothing in Germany is guiltless, neither the living nor the yet unborn. Break the racial pride of the German woman. Take her as your legitimate booty. Kill, you brave soldiers of the victorious Soviet army.
Soon, as the Red Army forced the Wehrmacht back in the east, millions of German civilians suffered the same ghastly fate as the victims of Nemmersdorf. Although first encounters with Soviet shock troops were truly traumatic, it was the second wave of soldiers who delivered hell on Earth. In numerous instances, before troops pushed on, they turned to the helpless civilians and warned,
"The Mongols are coming. Very bad men. You go quick. Go quick."
Terrified by the news, many Germans did attempt to flee. Most, however, found themselves trapped. Other than destroy liquor and hide young girls, most could only watch the clock and pray that their worst fears were unfounded. After a wait of sometimes days, but normally hours, the dreaded second wave arrived. Composed largely of Mongols and other Asians, as well as convicts, these men who formed the second wave of troops were regarded, even by their own comrades, as utterly merciless. Leading this group were the communist commissars, the fanatical political officers composed almost exclusively of Jews. These hate-filled individuals acted as the more than willing orchestrators of the horrors that befell the German people. Of all the methods used to express its hatred, the Red Army said it best with rape.
And when the first Russians came, the combat troops, they came in and wanted to see everything. Asked about weapons,